seems to be something in common about all these maps.
So you're saying
maybe there's just places I want to visit.
Your first
even
love,
though they don't exist.
Your first love of Hanamura.
Yes.
Maybe not your current though.
Yes, it does. Busan's been home to some amazing esports events in the past. Massive StarCraft finals, you know, that sort of thing. I'm sure Diva would have been in attendance. Actually, no way. She would have been like her grandmother.
She would have won.
Might have been
Diva
alive at that point. If we're going off Overwatch lore. Okay, bunker composition coming out here from Breakaway. They've even got Hunzo. I haven't seen him much since the double sniper meta. Matt straight onto the point here. They're going to try and circumvent that. They get one tick to start with, and this is going to force Breakaway to reset up their bunker on the point.
Yeah, it's very interesting. It's almost as if sort of the Melbourne Mavericks were playing this sort of movement-based to get past the bunker, just get straight to the point, try and build up some tick. They were actually very close to getting the second tick as well onto that, which 66.6 repeating percent.
Yeah, it felt like they really wanted 4 to be the front, to be the vanguard there as they moved onto the point. But usually it's the Diva that will go and make that first contest to try and stop them getting any pressure on it. Because of course, if you can just let them have that, you know, they'll get it in 3 pushes without any worries. So once again, you're seeing them get on there. Look at this, almost up to that second tip before Breakaway can even get onto there.
Yep. So very close to getting that 66%. ZeNox now can throw in the concussion mine and do some pretty heavy damage as well, and he does have the Riptide available. He actually just got the trap, I believe, onto Nox there. Keeps him in place for a little while. Now the Riptide, while the protected barrier was down as well from Nox. So nice timing in the end from ZeNox here for Breakaway Esports, but it does force out the Brummel Rage from Mini. Transcendence now used from Jervaz onto the point. But the fight seems a little bit, you know, separated, or at least it was, and now it starts to converge back towards the point. Mini's picked up like 5 kills here in this fight alone. Wow.
I gasped because for a second I thought D-Field, I mean, they've been trying some funky stuff, right? Why not try a Symmetra defense on the second point? Might have just been a misclick. He's going over to the Sombra. So Sombra Doomfist, I do like it as a defense here. You know, you've got Baby Poro with the nano boost as well, potentially, which usually you'd see on the Winston, just to try and cause some disruption, trying to give him a little bit of extra survivability as Mavs. They're just going to go straight to the point here.
Very movement-based Melbourne Mavericks, as they want to basically try and just run past Breakaway Esports, and they do take out 4 along the way as they take it for a ride. The self-destruct from Oily doesn't quite achieve a whole lot, although neither does Quad J. Now they turn the attention over to Slitsword J. D-Field, of course, no EMP here. For Breakaway Esports, they did use a lot of their ults at the end of that first point. This is why the snowball has sort of happened in the favor of the Melbourne Mavericks, and we see this a lot on assault maps.
Yeah, we do see D-Field, though. He's been getting up a decent amount of ult charge. However, he doesn't have long to get that EMP, and he doesn't have many teammates to help him capitalize on it. Melbourne Mavericks are going to get a very quick cap here onto the second point of Hanamura and leave themselves with plenty of room to breathe.
It's not a surprise, though, and the reason for that is because the initial prolonged fight onto that first point, we saw Mini using the Primal Rage, which is kind of why they won it. Then he kept going around picking up a couple of kills. But while that was happening, the Melbourne Mavericks, other players were building up ult charge. They were staying alive. They get that first point. They then go straight to the second point. Breakaway Esports decided to try and change their lineup up. They wanted to go Doomfist, Sombra, etc. They had no ults. They couldn't contest. The second that Melbourne Mavericks ticked over and got that green tick, they just overwhelmed Breakaway Esports. And it's a classic case of assault, snowball, get the second point.
So many changes there, as you say, makes it very difficult to sustain on that second point, especially for the first push. That is the opportunity that Mavs exploited there, resulting in a time bank of 5 minutes and 12 seconds, which is frankly quite astounding. So Breakaway Esports, now they switch it up. They'll be on the defense, and they're going to go for a standard composition. Mavs, you know, not going to go for the Winston, so they're not going to try and, you know, jump past them and get straight to the point, as we saw. So Breakaway aren't going to try and get straight to the point like we saw Mavs do. I think they even had the Moira there for a bit, just to allow that fade. You can get almost all the way across the courtyard, or killing yard, I guess it is, when you're coming up against a Junkrat and Orisa who can hold you into place. Yeah,
so goats versus goats, but also, as you mentioned, not really Winston goats with the Moira, that was their primary goal. Get just straight to the point as quick as possible without taking as much damage. This is a little bit slower for Breakaway. It'll be more the fight around the big doors and trying to get the pick and then push through, which, if successful, you can then go and get the point pretty quickly anyway.
Yeah, so Mav's actually holding quite far back here. Instead of going to the choke, which, you know, maybe you'd expect with a Reinhardt composition, they just let Breakaway walk straight in, and as a result, they can't really control anything. They're also quite spread out, which means Breakaway gets their choice of Discord targets, and they really
they didn't lose a single player there.
I don't think they did.
Wow, that was extremely easy, and I was a little bit surprised from that, considering it was basically just goats versus goats, like, and yet that was so easy. Just
very surprised by Melbourne Mavericks. You know, they didn't stick together as a team there. They really spread out laterally, which is almost the opposite of what you want to do with these kind of compositions. You really need to be a little bit more, you know, front to back. And, you know, sometimes you'll see them retreat towards that door leading into the second point. That's a good place to regroup. Mavs don't find that chance. Now they're going to actually try and take this high ground so that no matter where Breakaway Esports come from, they've got a chance to dominate.
7 minutes roughly for the time of the moment. ZeNox opens up the proceedings here for Breakaway Esports, and they do lose the mech onto Quad J. Well, he's been demeched as well. It's going to be a desperate sound barrier from Fluoro now, because the Melbourne Mavericks sense that they're now being the ones who are going to get snowballed here. So they've got to try their ults to try and delay this. As it is going to be the grab immediately after the transcendence of 4 balls, so he does get melted. And it is possibly Breakaway Esports repeating what the Melbourne Mavericks just did to them, although maybe a bit of reinforcements coming for the Melbourne Mavericks. They are about to get the Graviton Surge from Nox. They do just lose Mini. Their Grav does come out though. Shield still available for 4 though for Breakaway Esports to deny a lot of the damage into that Graviton Surge. Winter with a rally, but they're also split and they're all just not really together.
Where's the focus fire, ZeNox? This fight's been going for so long, and the Mavs have been staying alive so long that Mini is able to get up the Earth Shatter and now finally take down the main tank for 4. Breakaway Esports, despite being on this point for far too long enough that they should have been able to cap it out, have lost their chance to equal or even better the time bank of Melbourne Mavericks.
How? They should have had this point locked, sealed, delivered. We should be 2-2 right now.
Whoever is shot calling for Breakaway Esports right now needs to do a better job. Perhaps the other teammates just aren't heeding the call, because there were so many people that were in very vulnerable situations that had Discord orbs on them that were just by themselves. And honestly, 6 people were on the point for Breakaway Esports. They should have been able to focus them down in a matter of seconds, if even less.
Well, we'll see how this plays out now. There's still 5 minutes left here for Breakaway Esports. Could still come away with a decent time bank, but it's not going to be better than Melbourne Mavericks. And they also have got a pretty decent ult economy at the moment. So Breakaway Esports is not going to go for an eco push though. Jervis with the sound barrier is going to open it up. Now Slitsword J with that Graviton Surge onto the point, but it's going to be return play Nox as well. It's almost like ping pong in a way, as Breakaway Esports are going to lose the shield from 4 for the time being. Now with the Transcendence coming out from Baby Pyro, Shadow, Nox, Fluoro, both up to the point. That's going to be, that's a huge start. But they will come back pretty quickly. Point's going to be ticking over 70% now. Oh boy, anyone's going to get up to the point here for the Melbourne Mavericks. They've got 5 dead at the current time. Oily just trying to deny and delay for as long as possible. The DMAC for someone to get onto the point. Ball's even switching over to the Moira to get back in time. Winter over to the Doomfist. Where's the Wrecking Ball? Someone going to switch over to him next. It may be Nox or Oily. Never mind, they don't even get that opportunity. And Breakaway Esports in the end will get the second checkpoint, but the time bank not as good as Melbourne Mavericks.
Not quite, but it was an impressive turnaround there after quite a squandered
4-12 to 5-12
fight. Yeah, exactly a minute difference between the 2 teams. And honestly, I mean, it feels like that's kind of the difference in skill level between them. Overall at the moment, you know, Mavs you have to give the better end of the equation to, but Breakaway Esports have been impressing us so far in this series, and they continue to with a good cap here on Hanamura. I think the real difference has to be Mavs' defense here. They get the chance to do that first, and they do get to change how they approach this. I don't want to see them hanging around in the courtyard in one long line, like, I mean, sitting there like line dancing in front of the faces of Breakaway here, because they aren't going to sit there and be entertained, ZeNox. They're going to kill you all.
Yeah, and of course we will be seeing Breakaway Esports attacking again, which can provide a bit of momentum. It's all mental though, isn't it? At the end of the day, it's all mental. So like, okay, we just did this, guys. Let's do it again.
Yep, they've got a... The Mavs are going to be looking to repeat their performance on attack, but let's hope to see a little bit of a change-up in their defensive positioning.
Oh, you mean when they attack, right?
Absolutely.
Well, I guess they both want to sort of repeat what they did. There's only
out there. He just wants a little bit of info.
Only a minute difference, so I guess they both
Very early bubble by
happy
Slids.
with the way they went. And there's going to be a cooldown for a little bit of time. Nice shield bash, though, onto Mini. Allowed some damage to get through from Breakaway Esports. And this is what's happening. This time they're falling back to the side area, which, though, does give Breakaway Esports a decent position near the front of the point. But you can see the Melbourne Mavericks now can then come into the point from the side area. It is almost like a bit of a choke, though, and Quad J finds himself behind the shield of Mini, gets that initial pick. Breakaway Esports, don't throw away this opportunity. This should be the first point in your back pocket.
That was a little better from the Mavs. We saw them stay a little bit tighter, grouped up as we talked about earlier. They went back towards the second point while they were waiting for the healing abilities to come back online. And that is a very late sound barrier by Fluoro.
Hello, Fluoro.
I can't imagine they've really called that they can win that fight. I mean, Mini coming back into the fight would have changed things.
F in chat for
like
Fluoro,
a tiny bit, but I don't think ever enough that Melbourne Mavericks could have won that fight. As a result, now they're going to go up against a self-destruct and a grav without that.
If you're Breakaway Esports, you've got to just push the action here. You've got to take this.
Definitely. You go in hard, you go in fast, you know that it's going to be a long time before Fluoro's got that extra defensive ability. That's it. Breakaway Esports have got so many options to break through here.
A bit of a whiff on the shadow, though, from 4. Now the sound barrier, Graviton Surge, Breakaway Esports unloading towards the Melbourne Mavericks, but it's less than ideal because they lose 2 players immediately as the self-destruct from Quad J does pick Nox. Of course, not a far walk back for Nox and the rest of the Melbourne Mavericks here, so Breakaway Esports with really...
I mean, that's a killer fight.
A horrible follow-up, because that's a horrible follow-up.
Was it 4, maybe even 5 ults there? I'm not sure if D-Field had the rally, but either way, the breakaway teams.
Well, you messed up because there's armor.
Really squandered that.
I don't know that. Yeah.
They're going to go in again, but they've only got an Earth Shadow, so unless 4 manages to put this one past the Mavs, maybe get Forbles and Fluoro and then get onto the point,
shield
it's going to be very rough.
Onto Mini. They can't quite break through the shield just yet, though, as they continue to push for Mini. There's no health left on that shield now, down to 70 health. He does have the Earth Shadow available, but
must get him.
No, he's not going to use it just yet. We'll use it when he comes back, though, from out of spawn. And Quad J's mech has been popped. He does get back inside of his mech, though, and as Breakaway Esports starts to gain an ascendancy here onto the point. The interesting will be, there's a bit of time here. Mini shouldn't rush straight back on. Forbles is going to come back, and he's come back with the Transcendence. I guess he doesn't have time, really. He doesn't have time to wait. Fluoro actually was managing to stay alive, uses the sound barrier. Now, Mini uses the Earth Shatter. Coming back, Forbles doesn't quite have the Transcendence just yet. Now he's got it available, but everyone else for the Melbourne Mavericks is dying pretty rapidly. Quad J will get the D-Mech onto Oily, but the Mavericks are getting Breakaway Esports away from the point. Minute 35. Somehow, they continue to just keep Breakaway Esports at bay.
Oh, and they narrowly missed out on the 2 ticks as well. ZeNox 63.4%. We saw Baby Poro up on the rafters there. She was on the high ground, and I think we needed a little bit more damage coming out of her because Nox was on the back lines quite close to her, an easy Discord target, and it was him in the end who provided that extra bit of damage where they could really stabilize on the point. So let's see if they can get him down in the next fight, as he shouldn't have his Graviton available for a little while.
So Discord onto Quad J at the moment from Forbles, and Forble will get the initial pick onto Winter. Does have the Earth Shadow available. We'll just go for it, but really not the best Earth Shadow in terms of either just target priority or even having anyone there to actually get stunned with the shadows.
Nice, I like the focus on Nox there.
Sound barrier is going to dissipate from Jervis already. They do start to self-destruct here from Quad J for Breakaway Esports. Coming up shortly will also be then the Graviton Surge to follow, but he feels getting pressured by Mini. Does get pushed back here. Mini is by himself, and he should go down to D-Field. That will happen. Doesn't even get the health pack. 23 seconds remaining. This is now essentially the final fight for Breakaway Esports. In any sense of the word, they lose this, Gino, it will only be 3 points.
Complete whiff of a grav there coming out of Slids when there was so many targets around. There wasn't, I think Oily was there. Perhaps he was just trying to keep it away from the defense matrix. But despite being in control at this point for a very long time now, Mavs have always managed to keep a man on it and make sure that it's not going up towards the second tick.
Sound barrier from Fluoro and the self-destruct from Oily for the Melbourne Mavericks, throwing out their final pieces of the puzzle. Nox has got a Graviton Surge here, but do they have the damage to follow it up is the question. Sound barrier from Jervis should help out for keeping players alive inside of this Graviton Surge. QuadJ's going to lose the Mac though. Particle barrier onto 4 now from Slitsaw. Nox down to half health, but coming back onto the Moira is going to be Forbles. 4 with a great fire strike onto Winter. They've got to make sure there's one onto that point at all times, but now coming back to double tank setup of Mini and Oily will be hard to deal with. There is the Graviton Surge available though for Slitsaw. QuadJ can actually get back into his mech, by the way. He was in pilot mode for a little while there. They do get over 66, and they may very well get all 4 points finally at the death for Breakaway Esports.
Just at the end of overtime there, they managed to push through and at least have an even number. It always looks nice at the end of an assault map. You know you've at least got one more chance at things, unless Melbourne Mavericks push through this very quickly. If they do get it with more than 1 minute in the time bank, they should get that second tilt at the point. So that's what Melbourne Mavericks will be looking to do.
Wouldn't it have to just be 1 second?
It would guarantee them a
because
draw.
it drowns out?
Because then if it's less than 1 minute, of course, it would Breakaway
get
get
right.
the top up.
Yep, cool.
You know, like the overzealous barman, just, you know. Making sure you've always got something in front of you. So Breakaway really hope that Mavs, you know, they can get a lot of time out of Mavs here, because otherwise it will be a guaranteed draw, at least for Mavs. Otherwise, it could just be a straight up win. They can't do it this round. They might be able to do it the next, if anyone's winning now.
Interesting to see they're going for the same composition. Both of them, you know, we're seeing the Moira, we're seeing the Winston from Melbourne Mavericks. They want to play for the same style, and the sort of bunker for Breakaway.
Yeah, well, I mean,
didn't really work out though.
Heist v Kanga, they weren't being drawn away from any of those kind of standard comps, but Breakaway are more than happy to roll the dice here.
Don't call them Kanga.
I didn't. I
Okay.
didn't. Why are you putting it in my head, ZeNox?
Just reminding you.
It's going to happen at least once more throughout the series now that you've said that.
So 5 minutes for the Melbourne Mavericks here to push through Breakaway Esports, and they will be going for the Arrester and John Crack combo again. And for the Melbourne Mavericks, basically they're going to send Mini sort of the front, try and distract Breakaway Esports, while the remainder will get to the point. They almost got up to 33% though, but it is being contested. Now for Breakaway Esports to come onto the point, meet Melbourne Mavericks head on. They do get the D-Mac onto Oily. D-Field with a great position. Boy, with the Storm Arrows, takes out Mini immediately. The melt from those Storm Arrows, brutal. As they didn't actually, they got no one on the point right now for Breakaway. This is just ticking over.
Doesn't feel like he's strong enough to contest. This is a little bit squishy. They wait until QuadJ gets the nano boost.
Single Storm Arrow there onto either of the support of the Melbourne Mavericks. Gonna just go for the Dragon Strike instead. Does take out Oily. Needed to commit to that, but unfortunately, he still hasn't quite fully cleared everything. Fluoro and Forbles are still there, who uses the Coalescence.
Yeah, looks like D-Field up in that strong position on the high ground where they couldn't do a lot about him. Might be enough to flip this back in their favor. 4 and QuadJ trading places on the point just to make sure that Melbourne don't get that second tick. And that is an absolutely huge play from Slitsaw. Sees Fluoro pop up into the air and pops his head off with that concussion mine. The Riptire now coming out as a bit of a celebration from Slids, and it will be a hold from Breakaway Esports. This is tough for Mavs. They should be able to get through. They've shown that in the first foray onto this, that even losing a first fight, when they're attacking on this point, they can break through the bunker position. But I think we're seeing D-Field be a bit more of a factor here than we did the first time around.
Not only stopping that sound barrier was huge for that particular fight, but more or less coming into this next fight as well now. They don't have it. It's going to be the nano boost used out from Baby Poro, along with the Dragon Strike. I guess maybe you could say fight conceded, but Jervis is going to go down from Mini. He pops the Primal Rage. You don't really want to concede the fight now because Graviton Surge used, and you're going to use the Primal Rage, not the fight to concede. And well, Melbourne Mavericks don't have a whole lot in their arsenal going into the next fight either. The rally will be available from Winter. In saying that though, Geno, Breakaway Esports did commit a lot of ultimates to this fight, and yet it's not necessarily fully won just yet either. Somehow the Melbourne Mavericks have been able to sustain and get this point. Are you kidding me? That was messy.
It was a very messy fight. I mean, even at the start, it looked like Winter was getting sucked into a Graviton Surge, but there was no Zarya on the side of Breakaway. She just kind of stood. Winter, he stood in the middle of that Dragon Strike and just sort of let it wash over him. It's a very quick move here from Mavs, trying to make sure that Breakaway don't have time to get comfortable. I'm
tempted to just call it right now. I think I smell a snowball happening as it rolls down the hill, like an avalanche coming towards Breakaway Esports. They've got really nothing to counteract what Melbourne Mavericks are about to throw at them and what they've been throwing at them, picking up the double onto Slitzel into D field. Graviton Surge into the middle of that was Baby Poro, who's on side of the Lucio. Jervis used his Transcendence. There's nothing left for Breakaway. 4 will fall as well. Oily still holding onto the Self-Destruct as well to sort of try and balance out the ults that are going to be used and stagger them a little bit here for the Melbourne Mavericks, knowing that Breakaway are going to stagger themselves, basically trying to get onto the point.
Yeah, a little bit of an interesting swap here as well. Baby Poro is on the Lucio, and Jarvis was the one on the Zen. So swapping roles that they have had at other points
they need to last
during
for a minute.
The day. Now Breakaway, it looks like they're going to get really just pushed completely off the point here as Mavs look, as you say, to get this with at least 1 minute in the time bank to confirm at the very least a draw for this map. Jarvis being pushed off, the Fade not going to help him there, and 4 on the ground. Cannot get out of harm's way. Adaptive Shield's not enough for D field. And now, I think Melbourne Mavs are going to get this.
He's not even going to get really a proper May wall off there either, which would have been pretty important to try and delay that a little bit longer. Quad J, there's not really anyone trying to see who's coming back next. It's going to be Jervis on the Moira. What do they need? Another 24 seconds or so? They're not going to get it. Unfortunately for Breakaway Esports, and now it's in the hands of the Melbourne Mavericks to try and take the series lead.
Well, Breakaway can't come out ahead after Hanamura, but they can keep it level.
What they can do is obviously get the draw, which if they get that, we go into the next map to find out who's going to win the series.
And I mean, it was always going to be that...
it's like map 5, but not map 5, it's map 4.
Well, at 1-1, you know, it was likely going to be that map 4. Of course, we could have traded maps of, as you say, it will be a certain sudden death, I suppose, on that map 4 if we have a draw here. And honestly, it's very possible. I mean, we've seen how good Breakaway looked on the defense just now.
They're going to not go for their bunker composition here, which is interesting because they've had mixed results on it. They have.
I don't like this decision, ZeNox. I think they've had enough success on it both times. The first...
A minute 22 should be enough.
The first time they tried this defense, you know, they won the first fight, and then they had a good shot at the second. They kind of narrowly lost it. The second time they won a couple in a row, and they easily would have you know, shoved out the Melbourne Mavericks had it been a 120-minute time bank. So the fact that they're going back to something a little bit more standard now is a little bit worrying to me. It says they don't have full faith in that on the composition, and I don't know why that is. When they've played it so well twice in a row.
They may want to prolong the fights, I guess, possibly. Remember, though, of course, the one thing I just realized, they only need 33.3%. That old
so
composition
it means they have to stay on the point.
Yeah, that old composition
very
did give up, you know, a lot of that percentage pretty quickly. And, wow, Melbourne Mavericks still just get straight onto the point. It is going to be a trade. 4 goes down, but it's going to be the DMAC onto Oily. Slightly. They also get the shorter respawn time and walk back in a sense. It's going to be the Mac again here for Oily. I think this is going to be 2-1. Jervis is not going to be able to stay alive, and is going to be the Melbourne Mavericks taking out Hanamura.
So 2-1 up here, no draw to speak of. It will be Mavs mapping up for the second time in this series. I'm sure there's some big cheers coming out for the boys over there. Now we're going to go to the 4th map, of course, where the series could be decided, but not definitely.
No, which is nice going into the 4th map, knowing that, of course, we could still go to 5 maps. It's not as if it's necessarily over just yet. And for Breakaway Esports, they've looked good enough that we know that they can definitely still tie this series up and send it to a 5th map. And then who knows what could happen on the poll from there.
Anything, ZeNox, absolutely anything. If there's anything we can take away from the compositions that Breakaway have been running today, it's that nothing is off the table. It's a very large table. There's lots of things on it.
Yeah. For Melbourne Mavericks, though, I guess a breath of relief. Sigh of relief. Yeah, I was right the first time and I stopped myself. I don't know why. But it could have been a draw, which then, of course, puts a lot of pressure going into the next map, doesn't it? Now they've got sort of the upper hand in a way. They've got this very slight upper hand, and where even if they do drop the next map, at least we go to Nepal, so they get that breathing room. And for Breakaway Esports, a little bit disappointing for them because they're so close to at least maybe deserving a draw. They played it well, and you know, I always like seeing teams try something different. I thought their bunker composition, the way they were playing it, was fine, but I feel like Melbourne Mavericks sort of tried to outplay it, and they certainly did. You know, trying to sort of send the Winston to the front of the bunker to block a lot of the damage that they were able to put through, and then sending the rest to the point. Yeah,
the way the Mavs dealt with it was very good, just using him as pretty much a sightline blocker, essentially, both his body and when the Winston bubble goes down. However, I feel like they could have perhaps, the Breakaway this is, moved forward a little bit faster on the bunkers. I mean, you don't want to necessarily give away those ticks early on. If you can try and catch someone as they're rotating into the point, the last 1 or 2 people that aren't shielded by the Winston, because of course his bubble's gone down, you can catch them off guard if you cotton on to that strategy a little bit earlier. So, Dorado will be our final map here of the day.
Back to Mexico.
Looking for the win, yes. Mexico. Breakaway, trying to keep themselves in it. And, you know, look, let's not talk about Nepal anymore because, honestly, Breakaway have got a long way to go before they get there.
We saw a lot of Nepal last week. We may not see any Nepal this week.
We may not.
Well, still there. It's a potential, but the pressure's now onto Breakaway Esports to...
Maybe the map has a cooldown.
Like a week-long cooldown.
Don't get to see it again.
Well, this is...
I guess it would have to have a couple of charges, like Symmetra's turret as well, though, because we did see it twice in 1 week.
Yeah. Maybe it's got like a week-long charge cooldown or something. Well, Melbourne Mavericks are going to be attacking first. And for Breakaway Esports, they'll be defending using the bunker composition, but no Junkrat. No Junkrat. Using the Hanzo.
And once again, the double main tanks. 4 on the Winston. Slids this time is the one to pick up the Orisa. So lots of changes coming out from Breakaway Esports. Baby Poro is on the Ana, which is always good with this kind of composition.
I think it's for the Hanzo Dragon Strike with the Nano. We saw that before, actually, on
Hanamura. They reverted that, actually, where it no longer actually helps that out. Either way, he's going to throw it out unassisted and do a little bit of damage there with it.
So who's she putting the Nano on? I guess Winston, right? Fair enough. Yep, that makes sense. And for the Tesla cannon, but it just powers it up. This works, though, for the Breakaway Esports. I think the Dragon Strike is so good here through this like car wash area. Really just gets the entire area inside of the Dragon.
Yeah, it makes it very tough to push through that, and if you use it at the right time, D-Field just, you know, having a little bit of a go in the bird bath there. If you use it at the right time, it can split up. That's what we saw a lot in the double sniper meta. That's what you want it to do damage, but you also want it to kind of like an ice wall, just split up the enemy team.
So Mini straight away into the back line, looking to put the pressure onto Baby Bonner. Of course, that's the problem with Ana. That's also a big problem too for Breakaway Esports. It's when a massive flying self-destruct gets thrown your way. There's no Reinhardt to fall behind at all, Gino. You could maybe use the Fountain a little bit more, but they were pushed up. And so for Melbourne Mavericks, that's an easy fight win just off the back of a self-destruct.
Yeah, D-Field not able to land any of those storm arrows.
No.
No heroics from him, and unfortunately, the DPS have gone back to the graveyard. We are seeing Breakaway here go onto a dive-centric dive. Can you really call it dive? I mean, they've got the. I mean, I'm not saying it's dive overall. It's just a more of a dive-centric version of Goats is what I'm getting at. Both teams. We have seen a lot of people run the Reinhardt here, even on the second point where high ground can be quite important. On Dorado.
Yeah, I think Mini's really trying to focus more so than anything Jervis and Baby Pyro, because you got the Zenyatta and you've got the Ana.
And he does!
Yeah.
And now Jarvis isn't even near anybody
Now we can go straight for Baby Pyro, because what's Baby Pyro going to do to try and get away here? Sleep Dart's really her only option. Unable to land it, too much pressure. The Ana is just so easy to focus.
Yep, I'm expecting a change here from Baby Poro. Once you go away from the bunker composition, I don't think the Ana has as much utility.
Yeah, they've got to change that.
They are staying on the Winston, so there's a little bit of synergy there where, you know, perhaps it's better than the Reinhardt with the nano boost, but
there you go.
I think they should change, and they do. So they're going back to something a little bit more tested,
had to wait,
tried,
had to wait for Jervis, so that makes sense. Fair enough. 3 minutes and 18 seconds. They do still have the Primal Rage for 4 as well. May just use the early on to try and delay here and allow Breakaway to sort of set up and get into a better defensive position, which could be the case. Not really doing a whole lot, just sort of bashing Nox around and just being a pest more than anything. Now that the Primal Rage has already expired, he's immediately going to get finished off. This is easy for Melbourne Mavericks. They're going to get the second checkpoint in no time. They've still got 3 minutes. Yeah,
it was an interesting way to start that fight. They had Mini go up the top and completely zone Baby
Poro
out. She had to fall back into that room. She actually fell onto the Mega Health Pack, which helped her stay alive for a little bit longer. But it meant that you had no Discord Orb for the entirety of that fight.
Yeah. So 4 minutes here for the push of the Melbourne Mavericks, looking to close out the series, of course, as they do win here in Dorado 3-1.
That is definitely the case. Breakaway, of course, not keen to let that happen, so they're going to push Melbourne Mavericks back, who are making an interesting rotation around the back. They don't want to fight under the bridge. They're actually penning themselves in here. It's not a great idea.
And he's going to open up with the Primal Rage, takes out Baby Poro, who will be able to come back into the next fight with a very close Transcendence of her own. Sound Barrier now activated by Fluoro for the Melbourne Mavericks, and Wiley will pick up one more kill with that self-destruct. It's going to be
cool
4.
Met kill.
Also got the Met kill onto Quad J.
Awesome there. I didn't like that rotation by Breakaway at all, though. If you're coming around the back like that, it needs to be sight unseen. You need to have the speed boost ready to really surprise, and they didn't jump on to the Mavs after that.
Well, they're going to come away from the front now because they're going to get straight to this payload. Transcendence from 4 balls immediately. Sound Barrier for Breakaway Esports. They will have the Transcendence now from Baby Poro. I was going to say Popo because she popped it immediately as soon as she got that green check mark. Slitsaw J onto the Wrecking Ball as well here. Stunned into 4 balls, but it's able to stay alive. They do have the rally from Winter as well, so they've all got armor up for the Melbourne Mavericks. They're armored up, they're mav'd up as well.
They're looking very close to taking this 3rd point, ZeNox. We do have a grab out from Nox. It'll wrap up Quad J, who has to pop the self-destruct just to try and get back in. He barely makes it. They try and focus him down, but it does no such luck from Jarvis and Quad J, who is now once again out and looking in very dire straits here. It looks like Mavs are easily going to take this 3rd point. So, Melbourne Mavericks respond so far in this series after their shock defeat on Busan, where, of course, at the beginning, it was 1-0 to Breakaway Esports. Since then, though, Gino, Melbourne Mavericks doing what we expected them to have been doing. Once again, though, Breakaway bringing it close on a couple. You know, Hanamura was definitely theirs for the taking at one point. However, Dorado seemingly slipping a little further from their grasp. And they're not going to be happy with the fact that they conceded all 3 points. They're not going to be happy with the fact that they conceded 2 minutes and 11 seconds in time bank. Breakaway, it's their turn to attack. They need to be an unstoppable force. You know what I like with Breakaway Esports, though, is that they are also in that sort of innovative mold of trying some different things, some different ways to gain a leg up against a team like the Melbourne Mavericks, who many consider to be better, trying to find an advantage in a way that they can sort of gain ground on them, whether it be like a Hanzo here on first point, Dorado defense to maybe get some picks, use the Dragon Strike inside of the car wash archway. Not quite working. Definitely don't agree with Reinhardt Winston, but we like the idea. We like a little bit something different here, you know? I mean, look, personally, I don't mind GOATs at all. I really like seeing how it plays out. I think the better team pretty much always wins in that composition. It's a game of mistakes. You've got to capitalize on them when they happen. But that said, variety's a spice of life, and it's nice to see something a little different every now and then. When the map affords you that opportunity, Breakaway Esports, they're the ones to take it, and they are now the ones taking it to the Mavericks here on Dorado. Yep. And so, coming around the corner, Melbourne Mavericks should drop down here and force this fight early, which is to be expected for. Not going to get anyone with the charge, though. They're just sort of looking around, also keeping the shield up. No one behind him, though. Should be just trying to swing that hammer, get as much damage. And now for Breakaway Esports, this is what they want to see go in their favor. Whereas just Nox still alive, just behind the payload at the moment. No sense in, obviously, you can't really stagger Nox there. You've got to just get rid of him so he can't stall out that payload. Yep, take him down quickly. Make sure you get the maximum movement on this. Put the pressure on the Mavs. as they managed to get almost a minute.
I mean, you could keep like trying to nudge him away from the payload, like boop him away, shift into him, like who knows? Could have been a possibility, but maybe not worth it.
Just as good.
As they are going to re-engage into this fight. 4 maybe a little bit too further up though. Even really Quad J as well. There was a bit of separation between some of the frontline members of Breakaway Esports and their backline support players. They do have a couple of ultimates that have just come up.
So a late rally from D-Field there does allow them to get away a little bit, and now they're going to go in with the sound barrier. Sans a main tank. Slidzor, he throws out the Graviton Surge there, perhaps
self-destruct
by Oily. A little hard to see where it went in the end. Either way, it didn't do a lot of damage. And Nox, he's going to try and do one better with his. Explodes the Breakaway Esports apart from each other, but doesn't manage to separate their souls from their bodies.
No shadow from 4 gets the stun on ZeNox. Melbourne Mavericks have also pretty much thrown everything into this fight. Winter's even going to pop the rally here. They did just lose Fluoro. Mini cutting back into the fight just now, charging back from spawn. D-Field's going to come back with a rally of his own. Slidzor J's almost got him. Actually, Slidzor J has another Graviton Surge. Will they continue this fight? Maybe give it up. They did just get the Fire Strike kill onto Mini. I suspect they've got to take this fight here. They certainly will now with the sound barrier from Jervis. Graviton Surge on top of this payload. A very long, prolonged and drawn-out fight right now, which is definitely favoring the Melbourne Mavericks. But Breakaway Esports have most likely done enough now, Gino, to get this first checkpoint. As I say that, though, Mini just comes back, throws out the Earth Shatter. It changes the fight again dramatically. Melbourne Mavericks, well and truly happy with this. Even if they don't win the entirety of this fight, they've delayed so much of the time, and yet now they're actually starting to come out on top. I don't think Breakaway were expecting that last Earth Shatter.
I don't think anyone, including me, was expecting the fight to last that long. ZeNox, I'm pretty sure we just had D-Field and Slidzor J use 2 grabs and 2 rallies in the same fight. That's how long that went for.
I think we're in 2019 now.
New meta? 3-minute fight meta?
Minute and 10 seconds left. It's hard to believe that.
No, it's exactly as you said. It's just it's so favorable for the defending team when a fight goes on for that long and the payload isn't moving anywhere.
Do you lose a fight when you use 2 grabs? That is bizarre. Charge in from 4 now, does get the pin onto Nox. And on top of that, with a self-destruct, that's going to be the opening pick. But who knows? I guess we might be here for the next 3 minutes as well. Mini with the Earth Shadow once again. It worked out well last time around. Doesn't want to get Quad J. Melbourne Mavericks, though, gotta do their thing again. They wipe out Breakaway. There's 30 seconds left, and a stagger at the end as well onto Jervis.
No, they wouldn't hang around after that. Mavs, too strong for them in that fight. It's a much quicker one than the last one. Not many ults used as a result, and Mavs, we see Mini hiding behind the fountain here. It's probably just big enough to cover him. Does he want to find a special spot to try and use this last Earth Shatter, or are they just going to play it straight up? He's just going to rely on his team to give him the opening to use this Earth Shatter.
Trying to save that shield health for as long as possible. Oh, Shatter from Mini's huge!
GG.
That's the end of the series. The Melbourne Mavericks map up towards the end as that was their best performance for the day here on the first point of Dorado. It's a team kill. It's a team win. It's 3-1 to the Melbourne Mavericks.
A little bit sad to see them go out in such startling fashion there. Dorado obviously not their best map, not able to really get a look in there versus the Mavs. I mean, I suppose it was an unusual fight. When you have a fight that goes for such a long time, you really can't expect anything better of them there. I mean, maybe if that first grab hadn't have got eaten, as I think it was by Oily, they may have pushed a little further, but Mavs too good, and they cement their place at the top of Group A now with 4 series wins. Not even Order can compete with them if they manage to win the next series.
No, and for Breakaway Esports, it all started so well. And we mentioned they could have done probably a little bit better on Hanamura as well, and it's very similar to what we saw in our first matchup of the day between Heist and Kanga Esports. Was that it was a series of what ifs and could have beens. That doesn't get you anything, though, at the end of the day. You've got to do the job, and the Melbourne Mavericks certainly did that. That's why they're on top of the standings, of course, and that's why they'll be heading into the playoffs.
They will be. There's no way they can't make it now. It is mathematically impossible.
Yep.
A fantastic effort by them to come back after losing that control map, which is a little bit worrying.
It was close, obviously, and we saw, I think the biggest difference maker there was the usage of the Mei on Mecha base. Definitely something that stood out, and it was still, even going into Sanctuary, I believe was the last one, was still very close.
Yeah, it was. I mean, they weren't looking out of it at any point. They were always competitive, and obviously a little bit more competitive than Breakaway on the last 3 maps. So congratulations to the Mavs. They've probably all but secured their first seed now. I mean, we might have a look at the standings at the end of the day after Orders played their match, because then we'll have a much better idea of you know, how many map wins they're on, and especially going into the final match last week. I'm not sure if it's the final time-wise, but final in terms of who gets to top out Group B. It could be Order, and it could be the Melbourne Mavericks, and they're going to play possibly to decide that next week. It's going to be a huge match. Make sure you are tuning in for that next week, guys.
Make sure you tune in as well right now, because we're about to have the Macca's play of the game, and it's earth-shattering, I believe.
Let's have a look what Macca's has cooked up for us here. Oh, that's a spicy one. I think that's an Earth Shadow with a bit of sauce on the edge there. Mini with a fantastic one through the payload. Gotta love those. Look at that.
Just the damage onto Force Shield.
I mean, isn't it quite lucky that these that the payloads in the future don't sit on the ground? Because I feel like otherwise the Earth Shatters wouldn't be able to penetrate through them, and Mini wouldn't have managed to completely decimate Breakaway there and finish off the map and the series for the Melbourne Mavericks.
Yeah, most definitely. Great ultimate in the end, and really for the Melbourne Mavericks, you got a sense that that hold on the first point of Dorado was them playing much better than they did for the rest of that series. Now, to not take anything away from Breakaway Esports, I don't think they definitely showed their best, and what they did just then was probably more from what we expected of them throughout the series.
Yeah, I mean, coming into the start of the day, you might have expected Mavs to take a couple more maps in dominating fashion like they did on Dorado. Breakaway, though, showing they're not such a, you know, they're not just some team to be thrown away like yesterday's lunch. No, they are a real contender here, and they are probably going to be moving into the playoffs with the gap that they've created between them and freshman class, as well as Kanga Esports.
Yeah, well, it's not all doom and gloom for Breakaway Esports, but we will go to a break. Our final game coming up is going to be between Order and freshman class.